All right, first things first, China's auto industry has been trapped in an unprecedented involution style price war since January 2023, when Tesla first slashed prices. BYD has been at the center of it ever since. So it has now lasted 900 days with no end in sight. And Chinese media said that in 2024 alone, more than 200 models have been dragged into the price war. And the average price drop per vehicle has reached 9.2%. And that caused a sharp decline in profit margins across the industry. And some automakers are even facing the bizarre situation where the more cars they sell, the more money they lose. Even though Tesla started it, BYD has been at the center of this price war. Until the end of May, this May, no one openly criticized the company. But then BYD came under attack, targeted and besieged by its Chinese competitors, not Tesla. Auto industry executives in China began calling BYD the Evergrande of the auto world. The first to break the silence was a man by the name of Wei Jianjun. He was the first one who spoke out against BYD. He is the chairman of Great Wall Motors, and he's an auto industry veteran in China with decades of experience, highly respected executive. So on May 21st, during an interview with Sina Finance, he blasted the price war. This is what he said. He said, pure EVs are deeply unprofitable. There's no way to form a viable business model. Capital has already left after taking its profit and returns. Some early investors have even sold off their shares. Now everyone is selling at a loss just to survive. So he declared, he made these statements. He said, there's already an Evergrande in the auto industry. It just hasn't exploded yet. Now, he didn't mention BYD by name, but everyone knows there's only one company whose market position mirrors Evergrande's dominance in real estate, and that's BYD. At the time, BYD had just launched its spring offensive, another brutal price war designed to flip the table on the industry and squeeze out competitors. BYD slashed prices on 22 models with cuts as deep as 34%. Well, analysts say that through the brutal price war, BYD is trying to monopolize the market and force rivals out. But in doing so, it's not only cutting competitors, it's also squeezing its own dealers and suppliers. Just like Evergrande, which gambled on being too big to fall or too big to fail, BYD seems to be betting that the central government or Xi Jinping himself won't let it fall due to its geopolitical significance. But the reality is this dragging down process of slashing profits industry-wide has left BYD accumulating massive hidden debts. And debts always come true. I mean, they have to mature. They will due one day. We all know that Evergrande's massive debt triggered its downfall and detonated the bomb that wiped out any profits from China's real estate market. Now, BYD's debt problem is much more subtle and concealed. Officially, its 2024 debt to asset ratio was only 74 or 75%. It placing it third among China's top 8 car makers. Above average, but not the highest. But Chinese financial statements, as we know, can be dressed up through creative accounting. BYD's real problem is how it has borrowed money. It's not how much, but it's how it borrowed money. The company claimed its net debt, that's interest-bearing debt minus cash and cash equivalents, was just 27, a little under 28 billion yuan. But in January, a research company in Hong Kong called GMT Research estimated that the company's real net debt as of June 2024 was 323 billion yuan. Not the 28 billion, but 323 billion, more than 11 times the stated or the reported amount. And that's a massive discrepancy. Now, the difference lies in how BYD handles payables. GMT included overdue payables, those more than 90 days late, as debt. These off-the-books liabilities don't carry interest, So BYD doesn't report them as debt, but they are debt all the same. They're basically, BYD is shifting the financial burden onto their suppliers. So by delaying payments to suppliers and parts providers, they ease their own cash flow pressure without officially taking on debt. So it's stealth borrowing, right? The borrowing time and credit from the supply chain instead of from financial institutions. So normally, once a supplier delivers goods, the automaker pays promptly. No cash? Well, you have to borrow from the bank. But BYD turns what should be bank debt into delayed supplier payments. Globally, automakers usually pay suppliers in 45 to 60 days. Tesla stretches it, but still pays within 90 days, 3 months. BYD's average payment term in 2023, 275 days. That's almost a year. And most Chinese automakers settle their payments in 120 to 180 days. So BYD is twice as slow as the domestic average and 4 times slower than global norms. And this raises two questions. The first is, why would any supplier still work with BYD? And the second one is, if they're getting paid nearly a year later, aren't they afraid of going under? Well, the answer is hype and pressure. Um, Over the last 5 years, BYD's sales, which has been fueled by state support, allegedly exploded 20 times. I don't know if this is true or not. I mean, that's what it claims, surpassing even that of Tesla. So suppliers believe the government would always back BYD. It was the clear market leader with massive volume. So many accepted the brutal terms in exchange for big orders. So these are the hyped in suppliers. Then there are also the pressured in ones. BYD's ruthless price war that we just discussed shocked everyone. So as competition intensifies and as competitors collapsed, suppliers fear that they would have no one left to sell to. So it's better for them to be inside BYD's orbit, no matter the terms, than left out in the cold. So this is how BYD coerced and exploits its supply chain. So what happens when the payment cycle stretches too long and a supplier starts collapsing? Well, BYD invented a workaround, which is a digital accounts payable certificate called D-chain, which is kind of an electronic IOU. This is actually what a D-chain looks like. It functions like a commercial acceptance bill. Suppliers can sell their future receivables to a third party for immediate cash at a discount. So these payment vouchers have been securitized. They're turning into financial products. People are now trading BYU debt, believing it will never default because the state will always bail it out. So this is called supply chain finance, and it's a fancy term for passing the financial stress to suppliers and third-party investors. And that's exactly why GMT research includes these overdue payables as part of real debt, because in practice, that's what they are. Now let's talk about what happens if BYD defaults. This is really the interesting part. If BYD defaults on any of these payables and the final buyer can collect, the entire system centered around BYD starts to unravel. Because BYD's version of a collapse will not look like Evergrande's. The crisis won't begin upstream. If you think about it, won't begin upstream. The first wave of defaults wouldn't hit BYD itself, but its suppliers, right? As those suppliers go under, BYD's production gets disrupted, which then affects its car delivery schedule. And then it will affect its financial bottom line, and then will lead to downstream defaults. It's a tangled web of cause and effect. It's what some people call a quantum entanglement of debt in today's China. And to make matters worse, BYD has forced its suppliers to cut costs aggressively over the past 2 years. What started as 2 to 5% cost reductions has jumped to 10 to 20%. Suppliers are stretching to the breaking point, and some have already gone out of business. The small, medium ones have already gone out of business. So China's own experts say the risk of a supply chain breakdown is growing rapidly. And then on top of that, BYD has another problem. That's its stagnant sales problem. And according to a Chinese car salesman, BYD has been setting unrealistically high delivery quotas for its dealers, resulting in excessive inventory. The average monthly inventory per dealership has reached 2.5 months. That's well beyond the industry's warning line of 1.5 months. That means dealers have more than 2 months of unsold cars sitting idle in their inventory. So, to hide sluggish sales, dealerships have resorted to sell 0-mile new cars as used. According to Great Wall Motor Chairman Wei Jianjun, according to him, he said 3,000 to 4,000 dealers are engaged in this practice, which is falsifying sales to dress up financials. This is how the quote unquote the zero mileage secondhand cars came about. But the result is devastating. Now, as brand new secondhand cars flood the market, consumer confidence collapses. People stop buying new cars altogether. Buyers who did purchase at full price now see their vehicle value plummet immediately, right? People are waiting for the prices to go even lower. It creates a vicious cycle: falling prices, falling sales, and falling trust. Now, even People's Daily, the CCP mouthpiece, has issued warnings that cheap, low quality EVs could damage the global reputation of made in China vehicles. And meanwhile, global sales outlook doesn't look promising either. Experts have pointed out that the US market is virtually closed. Japan and South Korea are preparing to restrict Chinese car imports. Russia is no longer a reliable export destination. And in Southeast Asia, as one expert put it, the opportunities have dried up. And not surprisingly, BYD's dealership network is under financial strain because they have nothing to sell. Like someone said, the more cars they sell, the more money they lose, right? So since April, dealership in 2 provinces have gone bankrupt. I mean, these are 2 dealerships that strictly sell BYD cars. So lately, concerns have grown that Chinese automakers are cutting corners on safety, and their after-sales service is extremely bad.